I was about to sign what my son called my CEO renewal. My housekeeper's daughter, drawing on the floor, tugged my skirt. "Ma'am?" He swapped the blue folder for the red one under the table. I froze. What I discovered in that red folder would either destroy my family or save everything I built.
Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching.
The conference room smelled like lemon polish and expensive cologne. Patricia had cleaned it that morning, same as she had every Thursday for the past 12 years. The mahogany table gleamed under the recessed lights. My son Gregory sat across from me, navy suit pressed, his father's cufflinks catching the light. Nicole, his wife, stood behind him with her hand on his shoulder. Protective. Possessive. "Mom, this is just a formality," Gregory said. His voice had that practiced calm he used in investor calls. "The board already approved the renewal. You're still CEO. Nothing changes." I looked down at the blue folder in front of me. "Standard contract renewal," he'd said. 5 more years as CEO of Morrison Industries, the medical supply company I'd built from nothing after my husband died 30 years ago. Started in a garage in South Boston, now worth $340 million. Vanessa sat in the corner, 8 years old, colored pencils scattered around her. Patricia always brought her to work on Thursdays when school let out early. The girl was supposed to be invisible, quiet. Usually was, but she wasn't quiet now. "Ma'am." Her small voice cut through the room. "Ma'am," he swapped the folders. Everyone froze. I looked at Vanessa. She pointed under the table with a green crayon. "When you looked at your phone, he put the blue one in his bag and gave you the red one." I saw. Gregory's face went pale. Nicole's hand tightened on his shoulder, nails digging into the fabric. I could see the half moons even from where I sat. "Vanessa, sweetie, go wait in the hall," Nicole said. Her smile was sharp. "The adults are talking. Stay," I said. I opened the red folder. The words blurred for a moment, then sharpened into focus. This wasn't a renewal. It was an irrevocable resignation. Effective immediately. Transfer of all voting shares to a family trust controlled by Nicole Morrison as primary trustee. Secondary trustee, my younger son Richard. Tertiary, my sister-in-law Cynthia, not me. I would have signed it, if Vanessa hadn't seen, if she hadn't said anything. I would have signed my entire life's work over to the woman who married my son 6 years ago and had been slowly, methodically, turning him into someone I didn't recognize. My hands didn't shake. I learned a long time ago not to show weakness. When my husband collapsed in our kitchen from a heart attack. When the hospital bills came and the insurance denied everything. When I had to sell our house and move into a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 young boys and start over at 43. I looked at Gregory. Really looked at him. He couldn't meet my eyes. "When did you stop being my son?" I asked. "Mom, I can explain. Can you?" I flipped to page 4. This clause here, the one that gives Nicole 40% equity and a seat as co-CEO. When were you planning to explain that? Nicole stepped forward. "Evelyn, you're 64 years old. The company needs younger leadership. You've done an incredible job, but it's time to step aside gracefully." Gracefully, as if I was an old horse being put out to pasture. "I built this company from $1,700 and a used Ford Taurus," I said. My voice was quiet, deadly quiet. "I worked 70-hour weeks while you were still in high school, Nicole. I missed soccer games and parent-teacher conferences and birthdays because I was in hospital boardrooms convincing them to buy our surgical kits instead of the big brands. And we're grateful," Gregory said quickly. "That's why the severance package is so generous. $2 million, Mom. You can travel, relax, enjoy retirement." $2 million for a company worth $340 million. I thought about the clause I'd insisted on when we incorporated 22 years ago, the one my lawyer husband had helped me write before he died, the one that said any transfer of controlling shares required a 72-hour waiting period and independent legal review. They didn't know about that clause. I'd buried it in Article 47, subsection C of the original charter. Even our current lawyers had probably never read that far. "Where's Richard?" I asked. Gregory hesitated. He thought it would be easier if it was just us. He's in on this. Not a question. Mom, we all just want what's best for… Get out. Silence. Get out. I closed the folder. Both of you. Now. Nicole's expression hardened. You can't just… This is still my company. Those are still my offices. And you are still guests in my building. I stood. I'll have security escort you if necessary. Gregory grabbed his briefcase. His hands were shaking now. Good. He should shake. We have the board votes, Nicole said quietly. 6 out of 9. We were trying to do this nicely, Evelyn. But if you want to fight, we'll fight. And you'll lose. They left. The door clicked shut with a soft, final sound. Patricia emerged from the small kitchen alcove where she'd been preparing coffee. Her face was ashen. Mrs. Morrison, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know. I sat down heavily. My legs felt like water. Thank you, Vanessa. The little girl looked up from her drawing. She'd been sketching the scene. Gregory under the table, 2 folders in his hands. She'd gotten the colors right. Blue and red. My mom says you're the nicest boss she ever had, Vanessa said simply. I didn't want them to trick you. I felt something crack in my chest. Not break. Crack. Like ice starting to thaw after a long winter. This child, who barely knew me, had more loyalty than my own sons. I opened my laptop and pulled up the company's financial records. Started digging. If Nicole had 6 board votes, she'd been planning this for months, maybe years. You don't flip a board overnight. You cultivate. You manipulate. You promise things. My phone buzzed. A text from Richard. Mom, please don't make this harder than it has to be. Sign the papers. It's for the best. I blocked his number. Then I called my personal attorney, the one Gregory didn't know about. The one I'd hired 3 months ago when I'd first noticed the whispers stopping when I entered rooms. When I'd seen Nicole having lunch with board member after board member. When my grandson suddenly wasn't available for our weekly dinners anymore. Marcus, I said when he picked up, I need you to pull the original incorporation documents for Morrison Industries, Article 47, subsection C, and I need you to do it quietly. What's going on? My family just tried to steal my company. I looked at the red folder. And I'm about to teach them what happens when you underestimate a woman who built an empire from nothing. I hung up. Patricia was still standing there, Vanessa's hand in hers. What can we do? She asked. Keep your eyes open, I said, and write down everything you see, everything you hear, dates, times, who meets with who. I need to know exactly how deep this goes. She nodded. I've been cleaning these offices for 12 years, Mrs. Morrison. People forget I'm here. They say things. Then it's time they regret that. I looked out the window at the Boston skyline, the city where I'd started over, where I'd raised 2 boys alone, where I'd built something that mattered. They thought I would go quietly. They didn't know the first thing about me. The next morning, I drove to the office at 5 a.m., 2 hours before anyone else arrived. The parking garage echoed with my footsteps. I used my keycard to access the executive floor, half expecting it to be deactivated already. It worked. Small mercies. My office looked the same. The photo of Gregory and Richard as boys still sat on my desk, next to the framed patent for our first surgical clamp design. I'd invented that in my kitchen, bent over a desk lamp at midnight while the boys slept. Now it was used in 80% of American hospitals. I sat down and opened my computer. Started with the easy stuff: email logs, meeting schedules, board member contact information. Then I went deeper. Financial transfers, expense reports, travel records. By 7 a.m., I had a timeline. 18 months ago, Nicole had begun having monthly lunches with board members. Always off-site, always expensed as client development. But we didn't have clients in those restaurants. Those were social spots, expensive ones. 14 months ago, Richard had started traveling to our satellite offices more frequently. Dallas, Atlanta, Seattle, meeting with regional managers, building relationships, promising promotions. 1 year ago, my sister-in-law Cynthia had asked to sit in on board meetings. Just to learn the business, she'd said. I'd thought she was finally taking an interest in the company her late brother had helped start. I'd been pleased. I'd been stupid. 6 months ago, Gregory had suggested we modernize the corporate structure, bring in outside consultants, update our bylaws. I'd agreed. Why wouldn't I? He was my CFO. I trusted him. The consultant had been Nicole's law school roommate. Every piece had been carefully placed, every move calculated. This wasn't a sudden betrayal. This was a long game, and I'd been too blind to see it. My phone rang. Marcus. I found the clause, he said. Article 47, subsection C. Any transfer of controlling shares requires 72 hours written notice to all existing shareholders and independent legal review by a firm not currently retained by the company. That document they tried to get you to sign yesterday would have been invalid even if you'd signed it. How invalid? Completely. Null and void. But here's the thing, Evelyn. He paused. They would have still taken control, filed the paperwork, assumed authority. By the time you challenged it in court, they'd have been running the company for months, maybe years. Litigation takes time. And money. They were counting on me not fighting, or not having the resources to fight effectively. He cleared his throat. There's more. I did some digging into Nicole's background. Before she married Gregory, she worked for Hartman and Associates, corporate law. She specialized in hostile takeovers. My blood went cold. She's done this before, 3 times. Small family businesses. She'd marry in, gain trust, flip the board, force out the founders, then sell the company to private equity within 2 years. Made about $6 million across all 3 deals. Gregory doesn't know. I doubt it. She's good. Really good. The kind of good that makes people think every idea was theirs. I thought about my son, sweet Gregory, who'd cried when his goldfish died, who'd brought me breakfast in bed on Mother's Day even as a teenager, who'd been so proud when I made him CFO 3 years ago. Nicole had been in his life for 6 years, in the company for 4. What about Richard? I asked. Still looking, but I found something else. Papers rustled on his end. Nicole's been having an affair with David Brennan, your VP of operations, for at least 8 months. Hotel receipts, credit card charges, they're not being subtle. David Brennan, 52. Married, father of 3, on the board, one of the 6 votes Nicole claimed to have. Send me everything, I said. Evelyn, be careful. If they know you're digging, they won't. I hung up. At 8:30, Patricia arrived. She knocked softly on my door, carrying her usual cleaning cart. But instead of supplies, she had a manila envelope. From the security desk, she said quietly. The night guard is my cousin. He pulled the footage you wanted. I opened it. Inside was a USB drive and a note. Conference room, camera 3, past 6 months. Nobody knows I copied this. I plugged it into my computer. The footage was damning. 3 months ago, Nicole and David Brennan in the conference room at 11 p.m., her hand on his thigh, his mouth on her neck. 2 months ago, Nicole, Gregory, Richard, and Cynthia. A planning meeting. I could read Nicole's lips clearly on one part. She won't fight. She'll take the money and go. Gregory had nodded. Richard had laughed. 6 weeks ago, Nicole coaching Gregory. You have to be firm. Don't let her guilt you. Remember, she's been holding you back your whole life. You're 44 and still answering to your mother. This is your chance to finally lead. Gregory had practiced the lines. Mom, it's time to step aside gracefully. I watched my son become someone else. 4 weeks ago, Nicole and 5 board members. Documents spread across the table, signatures, promises. VP of Innovation, she'd told board member Susan Chen. 40% salary increase, she'd told Treasurer Mark Whitman. Early retirement package, full benefits, she'd told CFO Harold Wu, who was 67 and tired. Every person had a price. She'd found all of them. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We have the votes. Sign or lose everything in court. You have 48 hours. N. Nicole, threatening me from a burner phone. I took a screenshot. Forwarded it to Marcus. Then I did something I hadn't done in 30 years. I called my late husband's best friend, Tom Gardner, retired FBI, now running a private investigation firm. "Evelyn Morrison," he said warmly. "It's been too long. I need help, Tom. Name it." I told him everything. The folders, the timeline, Nicole's history, the affair, the board manipulation. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Corporate fraud," he said finally. "Conspiracy. Possibly embezzlement if she's been moving money." "Evelyn, this isn't just a family matter anymore. This is criminal." "I know. What do you want me to do?" "Find everything. Every lie. Every crime. Every person involved." I looked at the photo of my sons. "And I want to know if Gregory is a victim or an accomplice. And if he's an accomplice?" I closed my eyes. Saw him at 7 years old, holding my hand at his father's funeral. Saw him at 18, hugging me when he got into Boston College. Saw him at 30, telling me he'd met someone special. "Then I want the truth anyway," I said. "All of it." Tom promised to call back within 72 hours. I spent the rest of the day in meetings, acted normal, smiled at people who were planning to vote me out, shook hands with David Brennan and didn't let him see that I knew. At 4 p.m., my grandson called. Tyler, Gregory's son, 15 years old. "Grandma?" His voice cracked. "Dad says I can't come to Sunday dinner anymore. He says you're sick, that you're not yourself." My heart stopped. "Tyler, I'm fine. That's what I thought. You seemed fine last time. But Dad and Nicole keep saying," he lowered his voice, "they're saying you have dementia, that you're confused, that we shouldn't upset you by visiting." They were isolating me, cutting off allies, even my own grandson. "Tyler, listen to me very carefully. I am not sick. I am not confused. And I love you very much. Do you understand?" "Yeah." A pause. "Grandma, what's going on?" "I can't explain right now, but I need you to do something for me. Can you do that?" "Anything. Don't tell your father we talked. And write down everything they say about me. Everything. Can you do that? You sound like you're in a spy movie." "I know, but it's important." "Okay, I'll help." Good boy. His grandfather would be proud. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the dark computer screen. I looked old, tired, exactly how they wanted me to look. But I wasn't done yet. At 6 p.m., everyone went home. I stayed, went through files, found more evidence. Nicole had been submitting false expense reports for 2 years. Small amounts. $800 here, $200 there. It added up to $67,000. Embezzlement. I photographed everything. Sent it to Marcus and Tom. At 9 p.m., Patricia knocked again. "Mrs. Morrison, you should go home. In a minute. You've been here 16 hours. I looked up. She had Vanessa with her, the girl half asleep against her mother's side. "Patricia, why have you stayed working here so long?" I asked. "You could have made more money elsewhere." She hesitated. "When my husband left, I was pregnant and desperate. You hired me even though I had no references. You let me bring Vanessa when I couldn't afford daycare. You paid for her asthma medication when my insurance wouldn't cover it." She met my eyes. "You saved us. So if you need me to fight for you now, I fight." I felt that crack in my chest widen a little more. "Thank you," I whispered. They left. I was alone again. I pulled up the email Nicole had sent to Gregory 6 months ago, the one I'd found buried in his deleted folder, which he apparently didn't know synced to the company server. Subject: Timeline Gregory, everything is in place. Board votes secured, legal paperwork ready. Buyout offer from Weston Capital confirmed at $380 pending your mother's removal. Your share post sale, $89. Richard's share, $72. Mine, $156. Includes my equity stake plus finder's fee from Weston. She never has to know about the sale. We remove her, run the company for 6 months to satisfy Weston's due diligence requirements, then close the deal. By this time next year, you'll be free of her shadow. Rich and free. Isn't that what you always wanted? They weren't just stealing my company. They were planning to sell it. Everything I'd built, every innovation, every employee who depended on us, gone. liquidated, turned into cash for people who'd never bled for it. I forwarded the email to Marcus with one line. "Is this enough?" His reply came 2 minutes later. "More than enough. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, corporate espionage. I'm calling the DA's office in the morning." I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt empty. My sons were planning to sell their father's legacy for money. Nicole had turned them into strangers. Or maybe she'd just revealed who they'd always been. I didn't know which was worse. I drove home at midnight. My house was dark, empty. It had been empty since Richard moved out 15 years ago. I'd gotten used to the silence, but tonight, it felt suffocating. I poured a glass of wine, sat in my late husband's chair. The leather was worn smooth from 20 years of him reading there before bed. "They're trying to take it," I said to the empty room. "Everything we built, they're trying to take it." The house didn't answer. I drank the wine, poured another, thought about how easy it would be to just sign the papers. Take the $2 million, disappear, let them have it. But then I thought about Vanessa, 8 years old, drawing on the floor, seeing the truth when everyone else was blind. If I gave up now, what would I be teaching her? That power wins. That family doesn't matter. That loyalty is for fools. I'd spent 30 years teaching my sons that hard work and integrity mattered. If they'd forgotten that lesson, I'd remind them. Even if it destroyed us all. I pulled out my phone, texted Tyler. "Sunday dinner is still on, 6 p.m., my house. Be there." Then I texted Marcus. "Do it. File the injunction. Freeze all corporate decision-making pending investigation." Then I texted Tom. "I need everything you have by Friday. I don't care what it costs." Finally, I texted Gregory from my personal phone, the one he couldn't monitor. "I know about Weston Capital. I know about the affair. I know everything. If you want any chance at salvage, you'll meet me tomorrow at noon. Alone. No Nicole." I hit send. Then I turned off my phone, went to bed, and didn't sleep at all. Gregory didn't show. I sat in the small cafe 2 blocks from the office for 90 minutes. Ordered coffee, watched the door, checked my phone every 3 minutes, even though I knew he wasn't coming. At 1:30 p.m., I paid my bill and left. The walk back to the office felt longer than usual. My feet hurt. I was wearing heels I hadn't broken in yet, trying to look professional, powerful. Instead, I just felt old. The elevator ride to the executive floor was empty. I stared at my reflection in the polished steel doors. When did I get so many gray hairs? When did the lines around my mouth get so deep? When did I become invisible to my own children? I stepped out onto the executive floor and froze. My office door was propped open. Inside, I could hear voices. Movement. I walked closer. Nicole was sitting at my desk. My desk. Her laptop open. My files spread out in front of her. Gregory stood beside her, phone to his ear, pacing. "Yes, we're moving the operational meeting to Thursday," he was saying. "Mrs. Morrison won't be attending. She's taking some time off for health reasons." Health reasons. I stepped into the doorway. "I'm not sick." They both turned. Nicole didn't even have the grace to look embarrassed. She just smiled. "Evelyn, we were just organizing things while you were out." "Get out of my chair." "About that." Nicole stood slowly, deliberately. "The board met this morning. Emergency session. They voted to place you on medical leave. Indefinite. Pending evaluation by a company-approved physician. They can't do that. They can. Article 23, subsection B. If a majority of the board determines that an executive is unable to fulfill their duties due to health concerns, they can mandate leave." She held up a document. "It's all legal. We have the signatures." "I'm not sick," I repeated. "You've been acting erratically," Gregory said. He wouldn't look at me. "Sending strange messages, making accusations. The board is concerned about your mental state." "My mental state." I laughed. It came out harsh, brittle. "You tried to trick me into signing away my company, and I'm the one who's mentally unstable?" "See?" Nicole gestured at me like I was the exhibit. "This paranoia, this hostility. These are concerning behaviors, Evelyn." I looked at my son. Really looked at him. Gregory, do you hear yourself? Do you hear what she's making you say? For just a second, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Doubt. Shame. Then Nicole touched his arm and it was gone. We're doing this for you, Mom, he said. You've worked so hard for so long. You deserve rest. I deserve the truth. The truth is, you're 64 years old and you're tired. Nicole closed my laptop. The truth is, this company has outgrown one-person leadership. The truth is, it's time. Get out. This isn't your office anymore. Nicole picked up a box from beside my desk. My things were inside it. The photo of my sons, my framed patent, the thank you cards from employees. 20 years of work, packed into a cardboard box. Security will escort you out. You can't. We can. We have. She held out the box. Take it. Leave with dignity, or we'll have you removed. The door opened behind me. 2 security guards I'd never seen before. Young. Not the regular staff. Contractors, Nicole said, seeing my expression. We thought it best to bring in outside personnel for this transition. Less emotional investment. She'd thought of everything. I took the box. My hands were shaking now. I couldn't stop them. Your keycard and building access will be deactivated within the hour, Nicole continued. All company credit cards are already frozen. Your email access has been revoked. If you attempt to contact employees, board members, or clients, we'll pursue a restraining order for corporate harassment. This is my company. Was. Nicole's smile was razor sharp. It was your company. Now it's ours. I looked at Gregory one more time. Is this really what you want? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Nicole. It's what's best, he said finally. I left. The security guards followed me to the elevator, stood on either side of me during the descent, watched me walk across the lobby carrying my box of memories like some kind of terminated secretary. People stared, whispered. I kept my head up. Outside, my car was in the executive parking spot where I'd left it. I put the box in the passenger seat, sat behind the wheel, stared at the building I'd bought 15 years ago, Morrison Industries. My name, my life, not anymore. I drove home on autopilot, didn't remember the route, just suddenly found myself in my driveway, the box still on the seat beside me. Inside the house, I set the box on the kitchen table, poured a drink. Vodka. Straight. Drank it standing at the counter. My phone rang. Marcus. They filed a counter motion, he said without preamble, claiming you're mentally unfit. They have affidavits from 3 board members saying you've been confused in meetings, forgetting dates, repeating yourself. That's not true. I know, but it'll slow us down. The judge wants an independent psychiatric evaluation before ruling on the injunction. How long? 3 weeks, maybe 4. 4 weeks. A month. In that time, Nicole could do anything. Sell assets, fire loyalists, restructure everything. There's more, Marcus said quietly. Gregory filed for a temporary restraining order against you. Claims you've been harassing him, threatening him. I sent him one text. He's submitting it as evidence of erratic behavior, along with testimony from Richard and Cynthia that you've been increasingly unstable for months. They're all lying, I know, but it's his word against yours, and he's a concerned son worried about his mentally ill mother. That plays well in court. I hung up, poured another drink. My house was so quiet. I walked through it like a stranger, past the living room where the boys used to play, past the kitchen where I'd taught them to cook, past the office where my husband and I had planned our future. I ended up in the garage, boxes everywhere, old files, old furniture, the accumulation of decades. In the corner, I found it. The box labeled 1994-1997, the early years. I opened it. Inside, photos of our first office, a converted garage in South Boston, $800 a month rent, no heat, broken windows covered with cardboard, me at a card table with a laptop and a phone, Gregory and Richard doing homework on the floor. I picked up a photo, me and the boys. Gregory was 12, Richard was 10. They were holding our first big check, $15,000 from Boston General Hospital for 50 surgical clamp kits. We'd celebrated with pizza, grocery store cake. The boys had been so proud. When did that change? When did money become more important than what we'd built together? Or had I been so focused on building that I'd forgotten to teach them why it mattered? My phone buzzed. A voicemail from an unknown number. I played it. Gregory's voice. Rushed. Mom, I need to talk to you, alone. Nicole can't know. I think I made a mistake. The message cut off. Static. Then Nicole's voice. Distant, but clear. Who are you calling? No one. Just, give me your phone, Gregory. Nicole. The message ended. I tried calling back. The number didn't exist. He'd tried to reach out, tried to tell me something, and Nicole had stopped him. I sat on the garage floor surrounded by boxes of memories and realized something. I'd been fighting the wrong battle. This wasn't about the company. It wasn't about money or power or control. This was about my sons, about whether they were still salvageable, about whether the boys in these photos still existed somewhere under the men Nicole had shaped them into. I pulled out my laptop, opened a new document, started writing. Not a legal brief, not a business plan, a letter. To Gregory, to Richard. Everything I should have said years ago. Everything I'd been too busy to say while I was building an empire. I'm sorry I missed your games. I'm sorry I wasn't there for every birthday. I'm sorry I put work first so many times. But I did it for you. For us. So we'd never be desperate again. So you'd never know what it felt like to be 43 and widowed and terrified. I thought I was teaching you strength, independence, how to build something that lasts. Instead, I taught you that work matters more than people, that success matters more than family. I was wrong. If I lose the company, I lose what I built. But if I lose you, I lose everything that mattered about building it. I saved the letter. Didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, I called Tom. Tell me you have something, I said. I have everything. He sounded grim. Nicole's done this 4 times before, not 3. The 4th one ended in a suicide. The founder signed over his company, then hanged himself 2 weeks later. Nicole settled with the family for undisclosed terms. My blood ran cold. Gregory doesn't know. Gregory doesn't know most of it. But Richard does. What? Richard's been Nicole's partner since the beginning. They met first. Richard introduced her to Gregory specifically because Gregory had the executive position and access you trusted. This whole thing was Richard's idea. Nicole's been paying him 30% of her take. My younger son, the one who'd held my hand at his father's funeral, had been planning this for 6 years. There's more, Tom said. I found offshore accounts. Nicole and Richard have been siphoning money for 3 years. Small amounts from operating budgets. Fake vendor payments. It totals about $2.3 million. That's embezzlement. That's federal prison if we can prove it. And we can. I have the bank records, the shell companies, everything. What about Gregory? Silence. Tom, what about Gregory? His name isn't on any of it. He doesn't have access to the offshore accounts. He's been signing documents Nicole puts in front of him, but there's no evidence he knows about the money laundering. Tom paused. I think he's a victim, Evelyn. I think she's been manipulating him from day one. I closed my eyes. One son might still be savable. One son was gone. Send it all to Marcus, I said. And to the FBI. You're sure? Once I do this, there's no going back. Richard will be arrested. Nicole will be arrested. It'll be public. Ugly. I'm sure. Evelyn, are you okay? I looked at the photo of my boys holding that first check. Their smiles so bright. No, I said. But I will be. I hung up, sat in the silence. Tomorrow I would burn it all down. Tonight, I would let myself grieve. I woke up at 4 a.m. with perfect clarity. The grief was still there, sitting heavy in my chest. But underneath it was something harder, something cold. Purpose. I made coffee, toast, ate breakfast like it was a normal Tuesday. Then I got dressed. Navy suit, my husband's watch, the pearls my mother-in-law gave me when I married into the family. Armor. At 6 a.m., I called Marcus from my car. File everything, I said. The injunction, The fraud allegations, all of it. The psychiatric evaluation. I'll take it today if necessary. I'll pass. We both know I will. But I want the injunction filed before Nicole can move any more assets. Done. I'll have it to the courthouse by 9. Good. And Marcus? I want a forensic audit. Full scope. Every transaction for the past 5 years. I want to know every penny Nicole and Richard stole. That'll be expensive. I don't care. Next, I called Tom. How fast can you get me evidence that will hold up in court? I asked. I already sent preliminary findings to the FBI's white-collar crime division. They're interested. Very interested. But building a federal case takes time. We don't have time. Then we go public, media, the kind of exposure that makes prosecutors move faster. He hesitated. But once you do that, Evelyn, it's nuclear. Everyone gets hurt, including Gregory. I know. You're sure? I thought about the voicemail. Gregory's voice, desperate. Mom, I think I made a mistake. If he wanted out, this was his chance. If he didn't, I couldn't save him. I'm sure, I said. By 8 a.m., I was parked outside Morrison Industries. I didn't go in. I just watched, waited. At 8:15, Nicole arrived, parked in my spot. My spot. She was wearing a cream suit, sunglasses, carrying a leather briefcase that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She looked like she'd already won. At 8:30, Gregory arrived. He looked terrible. Rumpled suit, dark circles under his eyes. He didn't look at Nicole when she greeted him at the entrance. Didn't touch her when she tried to take his arm. Interesting. At 9:07, my phone rang. Marcus. Injunction filed. Judge granted an emergency hearing. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. All corporate decision-making is frozen pending review. They'll fight it. Of course they will. But it buys us time. He paused. Evelyn, Nicole's lawyer just called. They want to negotiate. No, they're offering $4 million. Plus a consulting agreement. 5 years, $200,000 annually. No, that's $5 million total. It's a good offer. I don't want their money. I want my company. And I want justice. Silence. Okay, Marcus said finally. Then we fight. At 10 a.m., Patricia called from a blocked number. Mrs. Morrison, it's me. I'm using my cousin's phone. They told us we're not allowed to contact you. I know. I don't care what they said. You need to know what's happening. Her voice was shaking. Nicole fired 6 people this morning. Everyone who's been here more than 15 years. They're bringing in their own people. People from Weston Capital. The buyout company. She's preparing for the sale, I said. There's more. She changed all the passwords, locked everyone out of the financial systems. Only she and Richard have access now. They're hiding evidence. That's what I thought, too. Patricia lowered her voice. But I heard her on the phone this morning. She was yelling at someone about a transfer that didn't go through. Something about the Cayman accounts being frozen. The FBI was already moving. Patricia, you need to be careful. If Nicole thinks you're helping me, she already fired me. My heart sank. What? This morning. Said they were restructuring and my position was eliminated. Effective immediately. She laughed bitterly. 12 years. Gave me a check for 2 weeks severance and told me to clear out my things. I'll make this right. I don't care about the job, Mrs. Morrison. I care about what's right. And this isn't right. Can you come to my house? I need you to look at something. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She arrived in 15. Vanessa was with her again, looking solemn. I spread everything out on my dining room table. The photos, the emails, the timeline, the offshore accounts, the evidence of embezzlement. Patricia stared at it all. This is huge. I need you to testify. If this goes to court, if the FBI builds a case, can you do that? She didn't hesitate. Yes. It might get ugly. They'll attack your credibility. They'll dig into your past. I don't have anything to hide. I looked at Vanessa. I need you to testify too, about what you saw. The folder switch. The little girl nodded seriously. I can do that. I'm good at remembering. She had no idea what she was signing up for. Neither of them did, but I was out of options. There's something else, Patricia said. I made copies of everything I could access. Files, emails, meeting notes. I've been doing it for 3 months. She pulled a flash drive from her purse. Why? I asked. Because I saw what Nicole was doing, how she talked to people, how she made them feel small, how she made Gregory stop eating lunch with the warehouse staff, how she made Richard fire people right before Christmas so the numbers would look better. Patricia's hands clenched. I've worked for bad people before, Mrs. Morrison. I know what they look like, and I know what good people look like. You're good. She's not. I took the flash drive. Thank you, I whispered. At noon, my lawyer called with bad news. The psychiatric evaluation is scheduled for Thursday. Court-appointed psychiatrist. Nicole's team requested it be recorded. Fine. Evelyn, they're going to try to rattle you, make you look unstable. You need to stay calm, no matter what they say. I've been dealing with men underestimating me for 30 years, Marcus. I know how to stay calm. At 2 p.m., Tyler showed up at my door. My grandson. He was supposed to be in school. I ditched, he said. Dad doesn't know I'm here. Tyler? Grandma? Something's wrong. Dad's acting weird. He and Nicole had a huge fight last night. She locked him out of their bedroom. He slept in the guest room. What were they fighting about? I couldn't hear everything, but I heard him say something about an FBI investigation. And Nicole said he was being paranoid, that you were making things up. Gregory knew, or was starting to suspect. What else? I asked. This morning, Nicole made Dad go to some lawyer's office. He didn't want to go. They were yelling in the driveway. She said if he didn't back her up, she'd ruin him. Tyler's voice cracked. Grandma, I think she's threatening him. Did he go? Yeah, but he looked scared. I made a decision. Tyler, I need you to do something for me. It's important. Can you be brave? Yeah. I need you to record every conversation Nicole and your dad have. Use your phone. Hide it if you have to. Can you do that without getting caught? He nodded slowly. I think so. But why? Because I think your dad needs help, and I think Nicole is the reason he needs it. Tyler left 30 minutes later with a new phone I'd bought him. Burner. Untraceable. I'd taught him how to use the voice memo app, how to upload files to a cloud account only I could access. He was 15, too young for this. But so was I when I became a widow with 2 kids and no money. Sometimes you had to grow up fast. At 6 p.m., Tom called. FBI is opening an official investigation. Wire fraud, money laundering, corporate espionage. They want to interview you tomorrow. Fine. And they want to interview Gregory. My stomach dropped. As a witness or a suspect? They're not sure yet. Depends on what they find. But Evelyn, they're leaning toward suspect. His name is on a lot of documents. He didn't know what he was signing. That's not a legal defense. Then what is? Coercion. Manipulation. If we can prove Nicole controlled him, isolated him, made him financially dependent on her, it might work. How do we prove that? Phone records, emails, witnesses who saw her behavior, financial records showing she controlled his access to money. He paused. And a confession from Gregory himself. He won't talk. He's terrified of her. Then we make him more terrified of federal prison. I hung up, sat in my kitchen, watched the sun set through the window. Tomorrow, the FBI would get involved. The injunction would be heard. The media would start asking questions. Tomorrow, this stopped being a family matter and became a criminal case. I thought about calling Gregory, warning him, giving him one last chance to come clean, but I'd already given him chances. He'd chosen Nicole every time, so instead, I made a list. Everyone who'd betrayed me, everyone who'd lied, everyone who'd voted to remove me from my own company. 9 names. Tomorrow, I'd start dismantling them one by one. Not with emotion, not with anger, with evidence, with law, with the same cold calculation Nicole had used against me. She'd taught me well. She just didn't know it yet. I went to bed at 10 p.m., set my alarm for 5 a.m. Tomorrow would be long. But as I lay in the dark, I realized something. I wasn't scared anymore. I was ready. The FBI interview lasted 4 hours. 2 agents, a man and a woman, mid-40s, professional. They recorded everything, took notes, asked the same questions 5 different ways to see if my answers changed. They didn't. I gave them everything. The timeline, the emails, Patricia's testimony, the offshore accounts, Nicole's history, Richard's involvement. When I mentioned Gregory, the female agent leaned forward. Mrs. Morrison, did your son Gregory have knowledge of the embezzlement? I don't believe so. But he signed the authorization forms for the vendor payments, the ones that went to shell companies. Nicole put them in front of him. He trusted her. That's not a legal defense. I know, but it's the truth. They exchanged a look. We'll need to interview him, the male agent said. Soon, before his lawyers tell him to stop talking. He won't talk to you willingly. Then we'll get a warrant. The psychiatric evaluation was worse. Karen Walsh, 62, cold eyes. She worked for the firm Nicole's lawyers recommended. I knew before I walked in that she'd been bought, but I had to play along. She asked about my childhood, my marriage, my sons, the company, my daily routine, whether I heard voices, saw things that weren't there, felt persecuted. Do you believe people are conspiring against you, Mrs. Morrison? Yes. Can you describe these conspiracies? My daughter-in-law is attempting to steal my company through fraud and manipulation. My younger son is helping her. They've embezzled over $2 million and are planning to sell the company to a private equity firm for personal gain. And you have evidence of this? Extensive evidence. Bank records, emails, testimony from witnesses. The FBI is currently investigating. She made a note. Do you think this evaluation is part of the conspiracy? Yes. Why? Because Nicole's legal team requested you specifically. Because you work for a firm that's received $140,000 in fees from Morrison Industries in the past 6 months. Because you have a financial incentive to declare me unfit. Her pen stopped moving. That's quite an accusation. It's quite a conflict of interest. We stared at each other. I'll submit my report by end of week, she said finally. I knew what it would say. The emergency hearing was at 2 p.m. I arrived early. Marcus met me on the courthouse steps. Nicole's team is asking for a delay. They want time to prepare a response to the fraud allegations. No delays. The judge might grant it anyway. Then we make sure she doesn't. Inside, the courtroom was half empty. Nicole and Gregory sat at the defendant's table with 3 lawyers. Richard wasn't there. Neither was Cynthia. Gregory looked worse than before. Gray skin, trembling hands. He kept glancing at Nicole like he was waiting for permission to breathe. Nicole looked perfect, composed, confident. The judge entered. Honorable Sandra Martinez, late 50s, no-nonsense reputation. This is an emergency hearing on a motion for preliminary injunction, she began. Mrs. Morrison alleges fraud and corporate malfeasance. The respondents allege the petition is filed by someone mentally unfit to manage her own affairs. Let's start with the mental fitness question. Nicole's lead attorney stood. Your Honor, we have a psychiatric evaluation completed just this morning by Dr. Karen Walsh, a respected expert in geriatric mental health. Her findings clearly indicate— I object, Marcus interrupted. Walsh was selected and paid by the respondents. This is a clear conflict of interest. We request an independent evaluation by a court-appointed psychiatrist. Your Honor, Nicole's lawyer continued smoothly. Mrs. Morrison has demonstrated increasingly erratic behavior, paranoid accusations, emotional instability. She's alleged a vast conspiracy involving her own children, a conspiracy supported by bank records, email evidence, and testimony from multiple witnesses. Marcus shot back. We have documentation of offshore accounts, shell companies, forged documents. This isn't paranoia. This is fraud. The judge held up a hand. I've reviewed the preliminary evidence submitted by both parties. Marcus, your evidence is compelling. However, Dr. Walsh's evaluation raises legitimate questions about Mrs. Morrison's current mental state. My heart sank. Therefore, I'm ordering an independent psychiatric evaluation, court-appointed, to be completed within 1 week. She looked at Nicole's team. And until that evaluation is complete, the preliminary injunction stands. No corporate decisions, no asset transfers, no personnel changes. Understood? Nicole's smile faltered. Your Honor, that will significantly damage the company's operations, her lawyer protested. Then you should have thought of that before attempting to remove the founder without proper due process. Judge Martinez banged her gavel. We'll reconvene in 8 days. This hearing is adjourned. Outside, Marcus gripped my arm. That was good. The injunction holds. For 8 days. Then what? Then we hope the FBI moves fast. They did. That evening, 2 FBI agents showed up at Gregory's house. I know because Tyler texted me a video. In it, Gregory answered the door. The agents showed their badges, said they had questions about Morrison Industries, about offshore accounts, about his relationship with Nicole Morrison and Richard Morrison. Nicole appeared in frame. My husband won't be answering any questions without his attorney present. That's his right, the female agent said. But we're executing a search warrant for financial documents related to Morrison Industries. You can cooperate, or we can do this the hard way. They handed over the warrant. Nicole's face went white. The video ended. 30 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mom. Gregory's voice, broken. Mom, what did you do? I told the truth. The FBI is tearing apart my house. They're taking my computers, my files. Nicole's screaming at them. They're talking about arresting... His voice cracked. They're talking about arresting me. Then you need to tell them the truth. Everything Nicole did. Everything Richard did. Everything you signed without reading. I can't. If I talk, she'll what, Gregory? What does she have on you? Silence. Gregory, what does she have on you? I signed things. Documents. I thought they were normal corporate stuff. But if they were fake, if they were fraud, then I'm complicit. I know. So I'm going to prison. He wasn't asking. He was realizing. Not if you cooperate. Not if you testify against her. I can't. Why not? Because I love her. He was crying now. I know you don't understand. I know you think she's evil, but I love her, Mom. And if I betray her, if I turn on her, what does that make me? It makes you someone who chose the truth over a liar. Or it makes me a coward who threw his wife under the bus to save himself. She's been stealing from you, Gregory. From us. She's planning to sell the company and leave you with nothing. She's having an affair with David Brennan. She's manipulated you for 6 years. And you're still defending her. Silence. Then, you're lying about the affair. I have hotel receipts, credit card records, security footage. You're lying. I'll send them to you right now. I hung up, forwarded everything to his email. Photos, documents, video clips of Nicole and David in the Morrison Industries conference room. 5 minutes later, he called back. Oh God, he whispered. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Gregory, I'm going to be sick. The line went dead. 10 minutes later, Tyler texted me. Dad just punched a hole in the wall. Nicole's screaming. Someone should come over. I called Marcus. Get to Gregory's house. He's about to do something stupid. Then I got in my car and drove. I arrived before Marcus. The front door was open. I could hear shouting from inside. This entire time! Gregory's voice, furious. It didn't mean anything. Nicole's voice, defensive. You slept with him in my office, on my desk. You're overreacting. Overreacting! I walked inside. The living room was destroyed, lamp broken, photos smashed. Gregory stood in the center of it, tears streaming down his face. Nicole backed against the wall, calculating. She saw me. This is your fault. No, I said quietly. This is yours. Gregory turned. His eyes were red, wild. Did you know? How long did you know? 3 days. And you didn't tell me? Would you have believed me? He laughed bitterly. No, I wouldn't have. He looked at Nicole. When did it start? Gregory, this isn't the time. When? 2 years ago, she said flatly. Maybe 3. I don't remember. You don't remember. He turned to me. She doesn't remember when she started fucking my VP of operations. Gregory, I started. No, you don't get to comfort me. You were right. About everything. And I didn't listen. I chose her over you. I tried to steal your company. I tried to have you declared mentally incompetent. His voice broke. What kind of son does that? The kind who's been manipulated by someone very good at it. That's not an excuse. It's not. He sank onto the couch, put his head in his hands. Richard knew, didn't he? Yes. And he still helped her. Yes. Why? Money. 30% of her take from the sale. Gregory looked up at Nicole. How much? She didn't answer. How much were you selling my mother's company for? 380 million, I said quietly. Your cut was supposed to be 89 million. Supposed to be? I don't think you would have gotten it, I said. I think Nicole and Richard would have restructured the deal at the last minute, found a way to cut you out. Nicole's expression confirmed it. Gregory stood, walked to her, looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Get out, he said. This is my house too. Get out! He grabbed her purse, her coat, threw them at her. Get out before I let the FBI in here without a warrant, before I tell them everything, every lie, every crime, every single thing you've done. You wouldn't dare. Try me. They stared at each other. Nicole grabbed her things, walked to the door, turned back. You'll regret this, she said. All of you. I'll bury you in court. I'll destroy what's left of this pathetic family. You'll go to prison, I said calmly. For fraud, embezzlement, corporate espionage. The FBI has everything. Bank records, emails, witness testimony. You're done, Nicole. For the first time, she looked scared. Then she left. Gregory and I stood in the wreckage of his living room. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know. I don't know how to fix this. You start by telling the FBI everything. They'll arrest me. Maybe. Probably. I looked at him. But it's the right thing to do. Since when do I care about the right thing? I tried to steal from my own mother. You got manipulated by a professional con artist. There's a difference. Is there? I didn't answer. He sat down, looked at me. Will you ever forgive me? I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me again in a year, after you've done the work to earn it back. And if I go to prison? Then ask me when you get out. Marcus arrived. So did the FBI. They had more questions. Gregory answered them. All of them. No lawyer, no protection. He told them about the documents Nicole had given him, the signatures he'd provided without reading carefully, the meetings where Richard and Nicole spoke in code he didn't understand, the times he'd questioned things and been told he was being paranoid. He gave them everything. At midnight, the FBI left. Marcus stayed. They're not arresting him, he told me quietly. Not tonight, but he'll have to testify. Grand jury. Probably trial. Will they go after him? Depends on the prosecutor, but cooperating helps. A lot. I nodded. Gregory sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Go home, Mom, he said. I need to be alone. Gregory, please. I left. Drove home through empty streets. Sat in my kitchen. Thought about everything that had broken, and wondered if any of it could ever be repaired. The arrests happened on a Wednesday. Nicole first. At 6 a.m., FBI agents at her hotel room. She'd been staying at the Four Seasons since Gregory kicked her out. They caught her trying to board a flight to Grand Cayman. Flight risk. Bail denied. Richard 3 hours later. At his apartment in Cambridge. He tried to run. Got tackled in the parking lot by 2 federal agents. It was on the news by noon. I watched from my kitchen. Drank my coffee. Felt nothing. Cynthia got a subpoena, but not handcuffs. She'd cooperated early, given testimony in exchange for immunity. Turned on Nicole and Richard so fast it would have been impressive if it weren't so predictable. David Brennan resigned, fled to his vacation house in Montana. The FBI would get him eventually. They always did. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday. Emergency session. All members required to attend. I arrived 15 minutes early. Wore my late husband's watch, my mother's pearls, navy suit. I looked like exactly what I was, the founder coming home. The board members trickled in, Susan Chen, Mark Whitman, Harold Wu, 3 others who'd voted with Nicole. They couldn't look at me. Good. Marcus sat beside me. Gregory sat on my other side. He'd lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. Looked hollow. But he was there. That mattered. Judge Martinez had dissolved the mental fitness petition after the court-appointed psychiatrist declared me completely competent. No surprise, but it had been satisfying to hear it officially. At 10 a.m. I stood. This meeting of the Morrison Industries Board of Directors is called to order. My voice was steady, clear. First order of business. My reinstatement as CEO and chairman of the board. Silence. All in favor? 7 hands went up, not unanimous, but enough. Susan Chen and Mark Whitman abstained. I made a note. They'd be gone by end of month. Motion passes. I looked around the table. Second order of business. Investigation into board member conduct during the attempted coup. Anyone found to have taken bribes, accepted improper benefits, or engaged in fraud will be immediately terminated and reported to relevant authorities. Harold Wu shifted uncomfortably. Evelyn, I think we all made mistakes. Yes, you did. And there will be consequences. I slid a folder across the table to him. These are the terms of your early retirement. Effective immediately. You'll receive full pension benefits in exchange for your resignation and cooperation with ongoing investigations. He opened the folder, read, looked up at me with something like relief. I accept. Good. I looked at the others. Anyone else want to retire early? 3 more hands. Fine. I'd rebuild. Third order of business, I continued. Gregory Morrison's role in this company. Everyone looked at him. He stood. I'm resigning as CFO. Murmurs around the table. I'm accepting a position as junior financial analyst, he continued. Entry-level salary. No benefits beyond what any other analyst receives. I'll report to whoever you hire as the new CFO. And I'll spend the next 5 years earning back the trust I destroyed. He sat down. I nodded. Motion to accept Gregory Morrison's resignation as CFO and hire him as a junior analyst at entry-level compensation? I'll second that, said Patricia. She sat at the far end of the table. New board member. Voted in an emergency session 3 days ago. Employee representative position. Long overdue. The motion passed. Unanimous this time. Fourth order of business was restructuring. Fifth was new hiring. Sixth was the federal investigation and our cooperation. The meeting lasted 4 hours. By the end, Morrison Industries looked different. Smaller, but cleaner. Honest. Afterward, Patricia found me in my office. My old office. Someone had put my nameplate back on the door. Vanessa wanted to come, she said. But I thought it might be too much. Bring her by tomorrow. I have something for her. Mrs. Morrison. It's Evelyn. You're on the board now. We're colleagues. She smiled. I never thought I'd be on a corporate board. You saved this company. Twice. Once when you raised a daughter brave enough to speak up. Once when you chose to fight even after you got fired. I just did what was right. Most people don't. She left. Gregory appeared in my doorway. Can we talk? Yes. He sat, looked around. This office feels different. Everything feels different. Yeah. He picked at a thread on his sleeve. The FBI says Nicole and Richard are looking at 15 to 20 years. Federal prison. Fraud. Money laundering. Conspiracy. I know. I testified against them. Grand jury. Yesterday. I know that too. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I didn't respond. I loved her, he said quietly. I know you don't understand. I know she was terrible, but I really loved her. I know. Did you ever love someone who was bad for you? I thought about that. I loved your father. He was good, but I understand it anyway. How? Because you're my son. And even when I hated what you did, I never stopped trying to understand why you did it. He looked up. His eyes were red. Do you think I can come back from this? I don't know. Do you think you can? I want to. He stood. I know entry-level analyst is... I know it's a demotion. Humiliating. It's a beginning. Yeah. He walked to the door, stopped. Tyler wants to have dinner with you. Sunday. If that's okay? Of course. He says you're his hero. I'm nobody's hero, Gregory. I'm just someone who refused to quit. He smiled sadly. That's what makes you a hero, Mom. He left. I sat in my office as the sun set, watched the city lights come on. Boston, the place where I'd started over once before. I could do it again. My phone buzzed. Tyler. Grandma, I made a TikTok about you. It got 2 million views. I called him. You did what? I told the whole story. The folder swap, the FBI, everything. People are calling you a badass. Tyler, you're trending. CEO revenge. There's memes. I hung up, opened TikTok, found his video. Sure enough, 2 million views. Comments flooded in. This is the content I'm here for. The housekeeper's daughter saved her. I would watch this movie. Grandma said, "Not today, Satan." I laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in weeks. The next morning, I got a call from Good Morning America, then CNN, then the Wall Street Journal. Everyone wanted the story. I gave them a statement through Marcus. Morrison Industries was founded on integrity. When that integrity was threatened, we fought back. Justice prevailed. We're moving forward. Professional. Clean. But Tyler's TikTok told the real story, and people loved it. By the end of the week, we'd gotten 50 applications for positions we hadn't even posted yet. Everyone wanted to work for the grandmother who'd beaten a corporate coup. The publicity was accidental, but I'd use it. On Sunday, Tyler came to dinner. Gregory came too. Hesitant. Nervous. I made pot roast. My husband's recipe. The boys used to fight over seconds. "This is good, Grandma," Tyler said. "You should make this more often." I used to, before I got too busy. Gregory looked at me. I don't remember the last time we had family dinner. 5 years ago, Christmas. Before you brought Nicole. That long? That long. We ate in silence for a while. Then Tyler said, "Dad's going to therapy." Gregory flushed. "Tyler? He is. 3 times a week. He's working on setting boundaries and recognizing manipulation and stuff." I looked at Gregory. "Is that true?" "Yeah." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "The FBI recommended it. Said it would help my case. Show I was serious about changing." "And are you? Serious?" He finally looked up. "Yeah. I don't want to be that person anymore. The one who could be manipulated, who chose wrong, who hurt you." "Good. Is that it? Just good? What do you want me to say, Gregory? That I forgive you? That everything's fine now?" I don't know. I'm glad you're in therapy. I'm glad you're trying. But trust isn't rebuilt in 3 weeks. It's rebuilt in years, in small moments, in consistent actions. I know. So keep going to therapy, keep showing up, keep doing the work, and maybe someday we'll get back to something that feels like family. He nodded, swallowed hard. "Okay." Tyler looked between us. "This is progress, right? Like, compared to 2 weeks ago when you weren't talking?" I smiled. "Yes, Tyler. This is progress." After dinner, Gregory helped me clean up, just like he used to when he was young. "What happened to Richard?" he asked quietly. "I haven't heard from him since the arrest. He's still in federal custody. Bail denied. His lawyer's trying to work out a plea deal. Have you talked to him?" "No. Are you going to?" I thought about that. My younger son, the one who'd held my hand at his father's funeral, who'd planned this entire thing, who'd brought Nicole into our lives specifically to destroy me. "No," I said finally. "I don't think I am. He's your son, and you're my son, and you chose to come back, to tell the truth, to try to fix what you broke. Richard made different choices. So you're just done with him?" "I don't know what I am with him, but I know I'm not ready to forgive someone who isn't sorry." Gregory washed dishes in silence. Then, "I'm sorry. I know I keep saying it, but I am. I know. Will it ever be enough?" I dried a plate, set it in the cabinet. "Ask me again in a year." 3 months later, Nicole and Richard were sentenced. Nicole got 18 years, federal prison, no parole for at least 12. Richard got 14 years. Cooperation credit for testimony against Nicole. He'd rolled on her completely. I didn't attend the sentencing, but Gregory did. He came to my office afterward. "Richard asked about you," he said. "What did he say?" "He wanted to know if you'd visit him, in prison." "What did you tell him?" "That he'd have to ask you himself." Gregory sat. "Will you? Visit him?" "I don't know. Maybe. Someday." I looked at him. "Would you?" "I already did. Yesterday, before the sentencing." "How was it?" "Awful. He's He's not the brother I remember. He's angry, bitter, blames everyone but himself. That sounds like Richard. Yeah. Gregory stood. I'm going to keep visiting him. Not because he deserves it, but because I don't want to be someone who abandons family even when they deserve it. That's your choice. Is it the right choice? I don't know. But it's a choice you can live with. That's what matters. 6 months after that, Morrison Industries was stable again, profitable, growing. I hired a new CFO, brilliant woman from Johns Hopkins. She was tough, fair, didn't take shit from anyone. Gregory worked under her, entry-level analyst. He was good at it, meticulous, humble. Every report he submitted was perfect. She came to me after 3 months. Gregory Morrison is overqualified for his position. I know. He should be a senior analyst at least. Give him another year. Then we'll talk about promotion. You're making him earn it. Yes? Good. She smiled. He's learning more this way than he ever did as CFO. Patricia thrived on the board, brought perspectives no one else had, asked questions that made people uncomfortable in the best way. Vanessa came to the office every Thursday after school, did her homework in the break room, drew pictures for my office. I'd set up a college fund for her. Full ride to whatever school she wanted, Patricia cried when I told her. You don't have to do this, she'd said. Yes, I do. Your daughter saved my company. The least I can do is invest in her future. Tyler graduated high school, got into MIT, wanted to study business. I want to be like you, Grandma, he said. No, you don't. Be better. He laughed. Okay, better, but still tough. Tough is fine. Just remember to be kind, too. You're kind. Not always. When it matters, you are. On the 1-year anniversary of the attempted coup, the board threw a celebration. 1 year of integrity, they called it. I gave a speech, talked about second chances, about the difference between justice and revenge, about rebuilding. Gregory stood in the back, watching. When I finished, he was the first one to clap. Afterward, he found me. You didn't mention me, he said. In the speech, no. Why not? Because this wasn't about you. It was about the company, about moving forward. Right. He looked down. Makes sense. Gregory. Yeah? Ask me again. Ask you what? If I forgive you. He met my eyes. Do you? I thought about the past year, the therapy sessions he'd never missed, the humble work he'd done without complaint, the slow rebuilding of trust, the Sunday dinners that had become a tradition again. I'm getting there, I said. Ask me again in 6 months. He smiled. Okay. And for the first time in a year, it felt like maybe, we'd be okay. Not the same, but okay. I went home that night to my empty house, poured a glass of wine, sat in my late husband's chair. We did it, I said to the silence. We saved what we built. It cost me almost everything, but we saved it. The house didn't answer, but I didn't need it to. I knew what I'd accomplished. I'd fought for what was mine. I'd exposed the truth. I'd held people accountable. And I'd given my son a chance to become someone better. That was enough. The next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m., made coffee, got ready for work. At 6 a.m., I drove to Morrison Industries, parked in my spot, used my keycard, rode the elevator to the executive floor, sat at my desk, and got back to work. Because that's what I do. I build things, and I don't let anyone take them away.